we are now going to go on the final stop of the life of Saint Paul, actually the grave of Paul, that's in the Basilica of Saint Paul outside the walls. Until now, we always said this church wasn't born because of Paul, this church wasn't dedicated to Paul. Well, the one we are going to visit was born because of Paul. It's a church, the Basilica, the second biggest of Rome, and one of the four principal, one of the so-called Basilicae Papali, that means the Basilica where the Pope gives service, St. Peter, St. Paul, St. John the Lateran, and St. Mary Major, is the one dedicated to St. Paul to host the body of Paul. Down there is the sarcophagus, where the body of Paul rests. Down there is the deepest meaning of the life of Paul, that's actually the memorial, so Paul died, but eternally visited. It's also a very visited spot. Not as much as St. Peter, but much more than the Tree Fountain or St. Paul Regola. The Basilica of St. Paul, anyway, will look like modern. Is it modern? No, of course no. But in 1867 there has been a fire destroying most part of the Basilica. Most part of the external facade, most part of the mosaics, so what we are going to see actually looks like modern, but it's not. The undergrounds, the sarcophagus of Paul, and a good part of the interiors of the Basilica is ancient. Unfortunately, the exterior part, the facade, has been completely remade in the 19th century, so it's not ancient, it's a copy of an ancient church. It was a fire that happened just because of the candles that in a church that was completely wooden made, in a period without electricity, and more than all in a period without the same fire gardens we have today, destroyed most part of the decorations of the Basilica. But what we care is the meaning of that place, much more than the artistic side, that's beautiful anyway. St. Paul Basilica is the place where is the body of Paul. Paul died in the Tree Fountain, then the body was carried out. At the beginning, the body wasn't there, the body was in the memorial of Paul and Peter. We call it the Memorial of the Saint Apostles. That's a church that's inside the catacombs of Saint Sebastian, that we are going to visit later on. The creation of St. Paul Basilica and St. Peter Basilica is strictly related with an emperor, Constantine. Constantine was the first emperor who gave Christians freedom to practice in the year 313 because of a law called the Edict of Milan. Many people say Constantine was the first Christian emperor in the history of the world. Is it true? Not so much, because actually Constantine's conversion wasn't so factual, wasn't so in depth. The mother of Constantine was deeply Christian, Saint Helena, Saint Helen, Saint Helena. She was deeply Christian, she was the responsible of the conversion of her son, despite Constantine was baptized just one year before than his death. So basically his conversion at the time of giving Christians freedom wasn't so accomplished yet. We have to say that Constantine was for sure a smart politician and a clever man. He noticed that in 313 Christians were most part of Roman society. His mother was Christian, his family was Christian, so he simply accepted that Christian religion was the most important religion in the country, was the most important revolution in the history of Rome, and in 313 he gave Christians freedom to practice. Once again, we have a story related with this decision. It's a story that has a part of truth, a part of invention. It's a story that starts in the year 312, so 1 year before the decision of Constantine. In 312, Constantine wasn't emperor yet. Constantine was still a wannabe emperor, a general of the army who was going to fight against another emperor, Maxentius. And the night before the final battle they were going to fight in the area of Milvian Bridge, the wooden-made bridge that's nearby the city of Rome, Constantine had a dream. He dreamt about a huge cross in the sky with written around "In hoc signo vinces," that means in Latin, "with this symbol you will win." The day after, Constantine ordered to his soldiers to paint crosses on the uniforms, to use crosses as flags, and in this way they were going to win the battle. And they won. Because actually when Maxentius was going to cross the wooden-made bridge with his army, they stopped on the bridge observing the procession of crosses. They couldn't understand what was happening, why were they wearing crosses. In that moment the wooden-made bridge cracked under the weight of the army, they fell into into the river, and Constantine won without fighting. Taking the victory as a divine signal, he gave Christians freedom to practice. Is it true or is it false? It's true that Constantine became emperor in 312 because he won in Milvian Bridge battle. It's true that 1 year later he gave Christians freedom. It's true that his decision changed the history of Rome. If you ask me that if he actually dreamt about the cross, well, this is something that nobody can know. The story says that, but we don't have any proof. If you believe, so. If not, anyway, the effects were the same. As he converted to Christian religion, as he gave Christians freedom, he decided to honor the memories of the great Christians, starting building the Basilica, that literally means built by the emperor. Basilius is the emperor. St. Paul Basilica, the one we are going to visit, was the third basilica built in Rome after St. John and St. Peter. We are in the year 337 after Jesus.